I remember I'd never been asked before this, and I've been saying to people in my circle, this is genius. Like, you have to ask your closest people and you have to ask strangers this question because it changes things. There's totally sparkles in it. And that question was, what's your magic? And I was like, I've never been asked that before, but it's true. I totally have magic. And so this started a whole seeing myself from another perspective.
Imagine if you were 7 years old and it's like, oh, this is what you do with life and that's it, and then done. Oof, no thanks. I don't think any of us signed up for that. We all signed up for the beautiful journey and the twists and turns and the climbing. As you said the other day, there's many ways up the mountain, and I feel like just exploring those trails is such a juicy, juicy way to engage with life.
Eudaimonia is a permission slip in my mind. Just be who you want to be and pursue the things that truly light you up, not for some goal in the future or some specific outcome, but because it builds character and it helps to round us out and investigate life and all of the interesting sparks that life has to offer us.
Welcome to the Peri Moon podcast. My name is Nelle Tamar-Manuel, and today I am joined by my divine, beautiful friend from far away, Jessie Sobool. Jessie is a Feng Shui consultant, but she works more in the digital realms, and I feel it's the nexus of Feng Shui and productivity or soul efficiency. We'll talk more about that later. Jessie is also a writer, and our email threads are such a delight to be in, and I eat them up regularly. Thank you for joining us today, Jessie.
I'm totally honored to be here. Nell, it is such an honor to share your space and to be invited in, so thank you.
Oh, bless you. We were just chatting about soul efficiency and the synergy of working with another woman who, I think what I appreciate about you is the way you receive my gifts and how I can then become more of myself. And I feel somewhat like this is a mutual adoration that we have of each other. Like, I feel like I become more of me from receiving your work, and then from showing you I've become more, then you become more. And it is a synergy, as you just said, off camera. And I'm so grateful for that.
Me too. You bring out of me things I didn't know that I had. I consider you an accomplished writer. And for anybody that's listening, if you're not on Nell's email list, make that a priority. I regularly get healing and epiphanies from being on your email list. So that's a must do. But it really truly evokes thoughts and considerations from me that don't arrive on their own in my world. They come through you, and they ask me to consider just topics and perspectives that I haven't before. And so I so appreciate all of your peering in crevices and pulling on threads that interest you, and listening so deeply. I think we all benefit from that. And so, yeah, I know that I have grown as better as a writer and as a friend because of our synergy. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. But I think you're so clear. Our email threads are so cherished to me. Even just you saying, this word landed in this way or this, and that shows me so much about who you are and where I can touch as a writer, that it's almost like you let me explore more of the peripherals, so then I become safer there, and I'm more able to, you cradle me in my writing, and it's so beautiful. And then for you to receive that and share back to me what you've felt, and gosh, it's just such a beautiful insight into who you are as a person, and the words you use to describe things are so exquisite.
I've considered myself very lucky that we have found each other in such an amazing community that we're already a part of. So
Mm.
I am so grateful for your invitation. I remember I'd never been asked before this, and I've been saying to people in my circle, I'm like, this is genius. Like, you have to ask your closest people and you have to ask strangers this question because it changes things. There's totally sparkles in it. And that question was, you just messaged me on Messenger and said, "What's your magic?" And I was like, I've never been asked that before, but it's true. I totally have magic. And so this started a whole like seeing myself from another perspective and how I could offer that to you were a stranger at the time. And but yeah, I just started asking all the people around me that, and I think it's probably one of the smartest things you can do to ignite the most interesting conversations and bring people's guard down and start talking about the meaningful things. And honestly, now like it's eudaimonia all over, right? Like that gets straight to the marrow of eudaimonia, doesn't it?
I feel like there's something about the word magic that I feel is so playful, and it does, as you were saying, lets people's guards down. Like if I said to you, "What's your purpose?" or "What's your 5-year plan?" Like there's so many
Right.
ways I could have said it. What's your,
Yeah.
you know, I could have said it in any number of ways, but for me it is. It's like, where do you play, and where does that come? Where does that really shine for you? That's where I want, and I don't want to work with people who are just, you know painting by numbers, or working through something just because it's a paycheck at the end. I want to work with people that are truly lit up, because that's where I've landed in my business, and I want to surround myself by other women doing the same thing. um, you just mentioned eudaimonia, which I really, this is you, this is all you. Would you be able to explain eudaimonia to our beautiful listeners?
Thank you. I know I just threw that out there, but I knew we were going to get to it eventually. And like I say, I think that asking somebody that and exploring that just goes right to the heart of it. Eudaimonia is a permission slip in my mind. Just be who you want to be and pursue the things that truly light you up, not for some, you know, goal in the future or some specific outcome, but because it builds character and it helps to round us out and investigate life and all of the interesting sparks that life has to offer us. And I need to say real quick, I am not the origin of this idea. This is it's an ancient Greek philosophy term, eudaimonia, and I read it about where are we 8 years ago in an article in 2018, and it just the light went on. Like I had always kind of maybe criticized myself for being unfocused or not being able to follow through on things, just these like, sort of vague criticisms that just sort of float around in your mind and don't really land anywhere. But after I learned about this, I was like, no, I am investigating things. I am rounding out my life. I am living a fulfilling life by tugging on all these threads and these things that interest me. And so, yeah, it was the permission slip I needed, and I've just been going with that ever since. I live by it, and I really love to see it manifest in others. That's something that really interests me. It's one of the things that I love about social media or YouTube or wherever you find yourself is to, or in our communities, is to just sort of be a detective about when people are pursuing their own personal eudaimonia. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. And from when we first met, I was looking for some help with the UX in my app at the time. And I had so many, and it was an experiment. I believe that the app was an experiment. But the sheer amount of hours and energy, and it took so much from me. And being able to pivot and move back, to a place where it's not about money. Money is great, puts a roof over my head, puts food in my baby's bellies. Um, but it's not about money. There's a richness, and I think that can be really thoroughly tethered to eudaimonia, is that richness you experience when you're living from a place of curiosity and exploration and impermanence as well, not holding yourself to societal expectations, your own personal expectations from like 20 years ago, or there's a true exploration and curiosity and a presence that I love about this whole concept. It's so beautiful.
I love that juxtaposition between richness and expectation that you
Mm.
just set out. Because I think that's one of the things that I want to say about it is it's very simple to me because it is a feeling. And so you can feel when you're rich, when you're experiencing richness, fullness, spark, magic. You can feel when you're in expectation, and and that can really impact creative work. And our life is a creative work. So yeah, I love that dichotomy. Mhm.
I want to make note that you and I have opposite astrological placement. So you're a sun in Virgo with a Scorpio moon, and I'm Scorpio sun with a Virgo moon. And our way of experiencing words in our bodies is so similar. I feel like it's such a kinesthetic experience for you as well. So I love that you just drew, a parallel to words and how they land in your body. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, well, I'm learning, I'm still learning about it. Like yeah, but what's in it and what it sparks in you and in others. And I'm just really interested to hear interpretations of it and what it lights up for people. And like I say, I'm still discovering and learning about it 8 years later. I'm so glad I have it as a tool in my toolbox. Hmm.
Yeah, it reminds me, Danielle Laporte used to have core desired feelings, and it was something she really worked with as, every year you pick your word of the year, and then for different parts of your life, you have this overarching word that you really anchor into. And that practice actually made me a better writer. So being able to hold a word and embody it and sit with a word for a big chunk of time and, have it contextually relevant in different, over here I'll be more embodied, I'm embodying Zen. Over here I'm embodying bliss. There's different ways, and yeah, so eudaimonia, I just feel like it's a meaty one. It's a really big one. It's very, very dense while also being light, which makes no sense at all, but it's anchoring and has levity. It's so beautiful.
Enjoy to the most. Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind me asking, like, what word you're playing with right now and what you're experimenting with?
I haven't really. Oh, actually, I have. And yes, at the start of the year, I was chatting with my beautiful my branding designer, Nikki, and I said, I think wonderstruck is
Mm.
my word. And it's happened. Yeah, it is absolutely ablaze in my world. And
Mm.
mastery was another one, which, oh, it's a little trickier. It takes a bit more. But I love being in service to mastery. I think it's a beautiful thing to submit to. And I think between the two of those words, there's a service and a receptivity. There's the receptivity of being able to experience wonderstruck and be open to that. And then there's that service of mastery where it's like, okay, this is where I move forward. This is my
Mm.
focus. That's my North Star.
It's you didn't choose anything light there. Like those are both just universes in themselves. Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm. I want to talk about your beautiful system, Euda by Jess, which
Oh, thank
it
you.
was such a huge breakthrough for me. Um, and whoever this word belongs to or this phrase belongs to, soul efficiency, it is absolutely yours. I don't care that it came from me. It is what the experience of doing your program gifted me, and it's soul efficiency. There's something so freeing from what I did with your beautiful little program. And it is little. It's so little. I think it took me an hour total and life changed. Thank you. Um, I think the beauty of it is being able to sit with what moves the dial in my entire life and being able just to put a few things on the stove. I'm only a few things on the stove at once rather than trying to manage a whole pantry of ideas and ingredients and all of the things. But through doing that, it really gave me there's like a potency and a focus that comes from doing your program. I think you should probably speak about what your program is so it doesn't sound so lofty, because for me it was such a profoundly energetic experience. Like there's so much energetically happening in the background that you can't see when you just look at my Trello board. So can you please speak to what your beautiful program is?
I'm so humbled by your words. It is, I don't have the words right now to convey how meaningful it is to me to know that it has had this impact for you, because that's like dare to dream. Like I dreamt of putting the course together, but I didn't dream big, that big that it could be so impactful. So, um, just thank you. So it's like growing its own legs right now, like I had the dream to put it together and I knew the purpose and I knew why. But yeah, like this feedback is like, whoa, like it's not in my house anymore. It's like out in the world, like growing legs and doing its own thing. So what it is a course on productivity that I built because I had to. When that happens, when you're like,
Mhm.
well, I need to go to this beach or I need to learn about this music or whatever. And I was like, I have been doing this for 10 years. I love productivity and I have tried lots of different things because that's who I am. In eudaimonia, I've given myself the permission now to go and try other things just for the fun of it. And every time I am in a project or I'm overwhelmed, I just come back to this framework. What does it take to set up? 15 seconds and you're there. And it's like cooking. And it's just so every time I need it, it's there for me. And then I was like, I keep mentioning we're a part of some really great communities. And I just have heard people say things like, I can't seem to get things completed. And I was like, I've been taking for granted that I have the solution for this. I take for granted that I possess this in my life and my business. And so I need to put this together. And I'm giving you like major thumbs up on that doing it in an hour, because I was like, I need people to get this completed and like get cooking and just like have it. And so that was the design was I just wanted to get these tools over to people so that they can be doing the meaningful things that they want to do, for outcome or no outcome, just for interest's sake, or just to take care of themselves in a way. Yeah, I've used it for self-care, like just my own little world, running that household, running a business, running all my creative pursuits. But also it's really been stress tested against some of the biggest and most demanding projects that I've ever been a part of. And I'm grateful for that. And though this system helped me to be like confident and grounded during a lot of dynamic movement in a corporate assignment. And so, yeah, so I put it together and I was like, yay, it's like together and it's on the website. And I'm just really, I think it's time to get excited about how it can help other people. And well, I mean, that was the original inspiration, but getting excited about hearing feedback now about, because it's brand new, like it's just out the gate. And so I think it's time to get excited, not just about building it, but hearing how other people are experiencing it. So thank you. Thank you for opening the door to discussing that. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. No, I think there's a couple of things I want to say. Firstly, being open to receiving, yeah, people's experiences of your magic is such a big part of growth as an entrepreneur and as, just as a human in general, as a creative, being able to receive, this has really changed my life. I may cry now.
Go
um,
for it.
I, uh, neurospicy. I have
Mhm.
nightmares still regularly about losing my timetable in high school and not knowing where I'm going and not knowing what class is on next. Like scheduling and calendars and time in general have been the bane of my existence for most of my life.
Mhm.
Um, and I've also spent a big portion of my life trying to work that out. Like it has been a huge focus of mine. I have, you know, in the last 20 years, I've probably bought 50 different planners, thinking this year it'll be this, this is what's going to work, or this system's going to work, or, I'll do a bullet journal, or I'll do, the desire map. There were so many different things that I thought this would really shift things for me, and nothing ever did. And I came somewhat to accept that maybe I just have to work, maybe I just am meant to work on vibes alone, maybe that is my strategy.
Mhm.
And then I just have such a respect for you, and I know that you get me deeply as a human. So when you were talking about this, and I know you showed me last year, but I think I was just in the mud of things a little bit this year when I sat down with the course. Yeah, I think because it was just so instantly implementable that I saw within half an hour, I was like, wow, this is all of the things that are important to me, and they have somewhere. And there's no ticking clock. There's no shame if I don't get it done, if I have to go back, there's no turning back a page because I missed a day, or there's none of that. It doesn't work like that. It's just you get to it when you get to it. And that clears so much shame and judgment of myself about when I'm getting to something, because my energy isn't, I'm not a diurnal creature. I am very much a cyclical creature, and my creative energy comes in waves. So to be able to come back at any time and to have things that really matter to me be in my face, it is so perfect. And it's also freed me up to, um, yeah, to be able to discern what's for me and what's for other people. Like, where can I get help? Where can I open up to having help? And so now I have a beautiful assistant as well, Haley. We've both worked with Haley. She's a gem. So not
Yes.
only do I have help with the heavy things, but I've also got another little human in my community whom I can love and adore.
Well, I'm just blown away. Like I really have to say, like, I mean this in the best possible way, but this is like your interpretation of it. And that's what I hope is like, because it is so flexible and adaptable, that it'll scratch the itch. It'll like solve for people what they needed. But like this is like what I guess what I'm trying to say is you have created from it what you needed, and that's really how I introduce the course, is like I hope that you build this for your own success, and clear your friction points, and create something that supports you and your needs. And it sounds like you really took to it so quickly and were like really instantly able to do that. I also feel a strong obligation to say I didn't create this out of my own brain, out of thin air. It's something called Agile Project Management Frameworks, which I have a certificate in Atlassian Agile Project Management Frameworks. And it's just genius stuff. it's such a beautiful framework. The bones are so strong. And so what the course is about is how I've interpreted that as a solopreneur and how, like, again, I've used it for my own personal life and also keeping all my notes while I was working corporately. But yeah, that's the origin of it. And the course is about how I use it for myself as a team of one. And so yeah, it's derived from there.
Hearing that, and the way you deliver it is not corporate, and it's not at all corporate. It is so tender and so intentional and so thoughtful and so compassionate, and so there's an art to the way you present things. All of your beautiful lived experience and your wisdom definitely floods through. um, yeah, it's a beautiful, the whole way you present it is everything you do, your email, just every touch point of the experience is so tender and beautiful. And I'm so grateful for that. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. I
Thank you for
want
your kindness, Nell.
to,
Thank you.
oh, bless you. I want to talk about your experience in corporate and walking away because most of my clients are in or in transition from moving from corporate into, a semi-retirement or passion projects, side hustles. That's where they all seem to be headed if they're not already there. I'd love to hear of your experience walking away from corporate.
Walking away from corporate was huge for me because I was really, and I still am, I really believe in that company and what we were doing, and I was really passionate about it. Nell and they gave me a bunch of green lights to do some really interesting projects internally within the company. And so I was totally bought in and just every day I was, how can I make a difference? Just really focused on our corporate goals. And as an empath, I like in my bones knew like what we were doing and felt strongly about it. And so walking away opened up just a ton of room in my life to hear myself and my priorities and my perspective and my needs. So every way that I had been interpreting my job and bringing value and being useful, now I had to apply to myself. And so it 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 was wonderful, but like it was not. Um, it was not terrible leaving and it wasn't terrible being there, but I was definitely tired because I hadn't had a lunch break in like 5 years because I was so passionate about what I was doing. And so, yeah, I needed to eat. I needed to breathe. And to pull back and get some perspective that I had lost. So, yeah, that's what it was like for me.
Mm. And I think, it's just a natural phase that women in midlife, we kind of get to that stage where it's like you've given your life to this patriarchal model of work, the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. It's very masculine. It's very, you haven't had a lunch break in 5 years. We get to a place in our life where it's like, well, what's for me? Where is there space for me? Where can I carve out space for me? And being able to let go of that attachment to job as being where you are of worth and where you are of value and find, well, you know, where is my magic? What is my magic? For me, where do I get my magic for me? I think it's such a beautiful exploration. And I think most of my women that are still in corporate really find themselves of use and of value, and they do feel a deep satisfaction. Like it's not like they're hating their jobs, but I
Mhm.
feel like there's a magic that's missing. And I think what I've witnessed from you, especially over the last year or so, is you really cultivating a sense of magic within yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that I I think like to put it in a nutshell, all of these skills and abilities and magic and everything, like and this is why I'm so passionate about Feng Shui, it depends on your environment. And so you can take that passion, that focus, that desire to serve and be helpful. And if your environment is corporate, then applying that there with all that heart and all that passion and that can really exist. But I think that that's what me and my friends, as we're maturing, what we're finding is like that purpose that you talk about, coming to find that it exists outside. Like it doesn't need to be realized through the avenues of a relationship um, or a career. That's just part of who we are. And so if we pull back, we don't need to force it to happen through a corporate assignment or through a certain way here or there. We pull back and we just realize that's part of us. And so that purpose can be fulfilled as in all of those things. We don't need to force it anymore. And I'm coming to find that that's one of the benefits of the fatigue of aging is I don't need to force it to happen this way anymore. It's a gift, it's a wonder. And I can have it here with our emails or with gardening, cooking, that purpose can be present.
I think it's a much more efficient way. There's such a pristine connection to purpose and joy and the magic when we remove all the barriers. And I think corporate can be a huge barrier as far as, the environment itself. You've got the fluorescent, there's so many things just
Oh, yeah.
environmentally, plus the politics and then the red tape. It's like how much of, even if you're doing the most purpose-driven job, how much of your energy is directly translating to meaning. And we can expend that energy in an beautiful email thread, and feel immediate sense of connection and the richness and that beauty of experiencing another human in such a way. Whereas in corporate, we might be 10 layers removed from the actual end result of something, and it can feel very, very distant. Our intentions to the outcome can be such a great distance apart.
Mhm. I hear you. That wasn't my particular experience. I was actually really strongly connected to a lot of different teams with a lot of different outcomes. And I could see, actually, as I was thinking about this interview, I was thinking that's one of the things that I miss is the actually like having a map and being able to really see where my cog fit into the bigger picture and how we were getting our deliverables out. And I feel as a solopreneur, sometimes it feels lost on me. And so in corporate, I was like, I knew exactly how I fit in and how what I was doing every day was impacting other people moving things forward. And so maybe that was unique to my position, or maybe it was unique to the culture that I was in. But we had consciously decided to really remove silos in my organization, and they did some really practical things to pull up those walls. And so we were really working together, and that's one of the things that I miss is like being on big teams. I just found it was really, really fun, really rewarding.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can imagine that you would, and I know we have discussed this, that you really were intentional when you found that job. You didn't just land in corporate and get swept away. You really, um, you had a high level of discernment when you took on that role, and being aligned with their values was something that was hugely important to you, which just speaks volumes to who you are as well. I am interested though with the cogs. Um, do you feel like there's this lack of a cog, that definition of who you are as a cog, as a solopreneur? Do you think that's you have more exploration to do to find those edges?
Yeah, I think it's just feels like impact just feels more random, like you receive some feedback, you receive an email. Yeah, and so it's, people taking this course and just like firing off in whatever direction,
Mm.
or having some Feng Shui consulting in that, just opening up a road to them. And I might get some pictures about some decisions that they made, but like it's it's on a trajectory of its own now. Whereas in corporate, it felt like it was all cinched in, like,
Mm.
it was all being gartered in together. And so yeah, it's a very different flavor of how I interface with um, outcomes. Yeah, very
I
different.
I absolutely relate to that. I spent a lot of my career working in pharmacy, so I was an integrative nutritionist working with the pharmacists on what vitamins and minerals and supplements may help with certain medications, which it was very cause and effect, very much, and you could predict, there was a very narrow band of error in any prediction you made. It's like they'll either take it and feel better or they'll take it and not feel better, and then we're going to try again. It was very, very linear. Um,
Mm,
and leaving that has left a kind of a hole that I've been looking to fill in other ways,
mm,
but also there's an exhilaration that comes with. I just think the fervor through which feedback comes when you're living in a more creative, feminine, flowy type of existence as a solopreneur, there's a fervor and a depth and a richness that comes from any feedback that is just, I never had that level of connect. Like I feel so connected when I receive an email now. It's like, oh, like I can just feel my sacral chakra just lighting up and feeling like so exquisitely held. Um, yeah, it's a different way of being. And I think this really speaks to what you were sharing with me in an email the other day. I hope this isn't breaking the sanctity of our little thread, but about high context and low context
oh, I love this. Yeah.
and being able to sit with your creations existing outside of you and outside of your realm of predictability. It's like I have no idea. I wrote a book and it's up to them what they make of it, like it being able to let your little creations spread their own wings and fly off into the sunset and have their own life from there. Um, it's a very different experience.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, like your curiosity to peer into these crevices. Like, I've never thought of thinking of this, but yeah, the juxtaposition, the dichotomy is so interesting. Yeah, the difference between really like again that dichotomy being like corporate with the very controlling, like knowing we had to know exactly like what next steps were, like everything was really tightly guarded. And so a lot of it's just feedback and the arrow is still pointing in the very specific direction. And we're all, hedging that and keeping that arrow going this way. Like this. Whereas with these emails that you're talking about, yeah, it's like it's much more unexpected. There's so much more unexpected, creative, letting people in, realizing new things. Yeah, no, yeah, what an interesting dichotomy. That's so fun.
I would love for you to share because you brought that the concept of high context and low context to me. I would love for you to share what that means because I feel like I've given no context to introducing that.
There's high, there's low, and then there's no
Yeah.
context. Fantastic. Yeah, no, I'd love to. But this one, it does belong to an author who of the book that I was telling you about, and I believe even she is citing that she was reading somebody else's work when she's talking about it. So let's make sure we I get her name and the name of the book over to you. It's a lovely read. I really enjoyed it, even though I haven't got to the end of it yet. Anyways, high context, low context. This individual was born and lived an amount of her life in India and then moved to the United States. I don't think she really gives the detail in the book about exactly what age that was, but like really different culturally. And so she was trying in such a unique and interesting way to understand what she was experiencing. And so again, if memory serves, she's citing somebody else's work that she found who was explaining that India would be considered a high context society, and the United States would be considered a low context society or culture. And so, how you would experience this in a high context is that the speaker doesn't necessarily need to explain themselves to the listener. But in a low context society such as the United States, um, it is the onus belongs to the speaker to make themselves understood. And I think if I pull back, that all makes sense to me, right? If you grow up in a high context society where everybody has very similar understandings of things and a really rich and ingrained similar heritage, then there will be myths and stories and things that don't need direct reference in order to contribute to a conversation. Whereas in the United States, where you have people coming from so many different backgrounds, and I think that's got to be true for India as well. It's just the way that it's explained. But anyways, and so in that culture where they don't have the common um, stories and understandings, then the speaker has to do the heavy lifting there. And so what Nell and I have been talking about in this email thread is about publishing work in a low context society. And so is the onus on the creator to belabor a point and to really drive it home and to make it understood and to have crystal clarity? Or can we hide some of our meaning and allow that to unfold for the listener? Am I capturing this correctly, Nell, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And it really, in the thread, I went on to say that this just struck me when you mentioned this in reference to the way I wrote my book. I knew the name for my book. I knew what it was about. I knew what the intended outcome was. I knew the arc. I knew all of that. It was intended to be nonfiction, but I just couldn't. The more I got into it, the more I found imagination was such a pivotal. My book's called The Joy Decision, and it's about joy. And I found that imagination was such a critical ally in joy, in the experience of joy. And so for me, I had to turn that into fiction, short stories, for that to really move the reader through their own experience, because I just couldn't, in good conscience, sit back and say, this is how you do joy. This is how your experience of joy should look. Do these 10 steps, and this is what joy will look like for you. I needed the reader to be able to sit with certain concepts and sit with stories and certain words and experiences for them to be able to make sense of what it means for them, because we are all so different. And I feel like our society has become so driven on, this is how you do X, Y, Z. I will explain every single thing to you so specifically that you cannot, deviate from this prescription. And for me, that just feels like the antithesis of self-development and growth and evolution and our soul's experience on this earth.
Hmm. I have struggled in the past few years. There's people with really, really excellent, meaningful content. And I think people are being asked by publishers, I don't know because I'm not there, to deliver it in such a way that this is the penultimate solution to, you know, anxiety or productivity or grieving or, you know, and again, there's just such quality content, but the delivery of like, experience it this way and apply it with these steps. And I'm like, but I'm busy.
Mm.
And my brain wants to play with this information, like chop it up and like test it and like, you know, like try different things with it. And so I search out audible books that where the person is just enjoying sharing their learning instead of telling me how to experience the same thing. And that's just where I'm at right now. Like, for my nervous system, I can't be told how to process it anymore. I need to be offered something of value and trusted to process that in a mature way. Or an
Mm.
immature way, but just my way.
Rebellion.
Yes. But man, there's some super quality content. So I think maybe I might be able to get better myself at like, you know, teasing through what's, you know, like like, okay, well, here's how they're delivering it, but you know, what's that thing underneath that's the gem, that's the treasure.
The subcontext. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a subterranean experience that threads through all, you know, anyone that's really got this desire to help others. I think there's like a subterranean thread
Mhm.
that you know, and the same through all religions and all philosophies. There's that subterranean thread that exists throughout it all, and it's our, you know, only we can burrow into that. You know, only we can be like, oh, this is the place where I need to land. It's like we can tick all the boxes and do all the things. And um, yeah, I just find that sometimes the ticking of the boxes is a big distraction to the actual work that the writer or the whoever it may be, the speaker, whoever it is actually offering.
Now, I have ruined perfectly good books by treating them that way. There was
Mm.
wisdom there to be gathered. There was things to you know, really let bubble and assimilate. And I was just like, check off the boxes, get this book read, and like move on to the next jewel, searching for the next gem. And so yeah, I am absolutely guilty of that.
It's like self-development tourism. It's like
Yeah.
just going to, you know, doing, I've done the cold plunges, I've done my meditation, I'm having the matcha, you know, like I'm
Yes.
doing this, taking a little Instagram shot, sharing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there, I mean, and then there's something to be said, like the spirit in which that's approached, like just for fun, like, you know,
Oh,
just tossing the ball around, like let's give it a try, take a picture, you know, and just have fun with it. Yeah. And not always like, is this going to fix the thing? Yeah.
yeah. And I think that speaks to impermanence as well. It's like, you know, we all go through different seasons, we all go through different things. For me, meditation was huge for such a long time, and now I barely, you know, doing the dishwasher tends to be my meditation. I feel like this podcast may end up being, I'll have to change the name to Nelle and the dishwasher, because so much of my wisdom comes from, you know, being able to move through that awful experience. But I feel like, you know, we all go through seasons. So for one thing to be all healing at all times for all people, I don't see that as being any way realistic for anyone.
It's just, it's not accurate, is it?
No.
It's just not accurate.
And it can't be. And I love that. Like, imagine if it
Yeah.
was. Imagine if you were like 7 years old and it's like, oh, this is what you do with life and that's it. And then
Yes.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, oof, no thanks. I don't think any of us signed up for that. We all signed up for the beautiful journey and the twists and turns and the climbing, as you said the other day, there's many ways up the mountain. And I feel like just exploring those trails is such a juicy, juicy way to engage with life.
Mm, agreed. Yeah, that's where the magic and the sparkle is.
Jess, it's been so magical and sparkly sitting with you today. And I do hope we get to do this a little more regularly. You're one of my most favorite people, and our emails are amongst my keenest pleasures. And it's been such a joy having you on today. Thank you so much, Jessie, for joining us.
Thank you so, so much, Nell, for having me. This has just been such a ride, and I treasure your words. Thank you so much.
Bless you. And for our listeners, where can they find you in the world?
Oh, come see me. I'm at www.cozygess.com so that you don't have to spell the actual name of my business, which is Euda by Jessie. And so Euda being, yeah, my interpretation of eudaimonia. So that's the name of the business. Come see me there. Come join me on my email list because I have some things cooking, some more courses that I want to build that are oriented more around my Feng Shui passion. I really needed to get that productivity course built. It just was demanding to happen. So yeah, I look forward to connecting there.
Bless you. And I think you needed to build it for me. And I am most grateful. And it has been very, very, very successful in even touching. Well, and I know my dear friend Abby was on a couple of weeks ago. She also she continues to tell me, I've got my Trello board and I've got this and I've got that and I'm using it all the time. So your work really does have legs and legacy. And I'm so grateful to have you in my orb. Thank you so much, Jessie.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just wanted to say one last thing. So, when you and I first met, you were just at, I believe, near the end of putting together your app and all the workflows there. And I was like, and you asked me to do some user testing for you. And so I did. And I've done user testing professionally, and I love it. Like with all of my Virgo planets, like user testing is really good for me. And I was like, there's a team behind this. There's a whole team behind this. Like, I don't, we hadn't even had a meeting. We had just done some Facebook Messenger back and forth. And so it just surprises me so much to hear you say, scheduling and planning and that sort of thing is a challenge. I never would have guessed that, like what you shared today. I never would have guessed that because when we first met, in my mind, like you had created something and you had, like, let's give you the credit, right? Like you really had built something big and engaging and engaged and involved. And it was big. It had so many doors to it. And you were managing them all with such clear feminine energy. It was, yeah. So I like up until just recently when we've been sharing more of our business work, did I come to realize like you did all of that and didn't have a team working for you. So that was a surprise.
Thank you. I am really blessed. I can get in creative slipstreams and I don't really have any resistance with what comes through. So I feel, I don't know where it comes from, but my creative process there's definitely a purity to it that I'm never take for granted, and I'm most grateful for it. I can sit around for a week thinking I need to write this page, sales page or whatever it might be, and I'll be torturing myself for a week, and then I'll sit down and it's written in an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for that. I did have help. I had Nikki, my branding, beautiful, beautiful branding lady, and I had a web developer. But yeah, the rest of it was magic and me, I guess.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah, I'm so privileged to have witnessed that.
You are so beautiful. Thank you so much, Jessie. It's been such a pleasure, and I really do hope we can speak again soon sometime.
I look forward to it. Thank you again, Nell, so much.
Thank you. Thank you for sitting with us today. It has been an absolute joy. If you'd like to work with me or connect with any one of our beautiful guests, you can find everything at perimoon.com.au. And until next time, may you find yourself all the way alive.